Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, JJ, for the introduction. Okay, and yeah, first of all, I would like to thank Al for giving us an overview of what our rights are to, on, and in the internet. Okay, let me just share my screen with you.
Good. Kita na po.
Okay. Okay. Uh, so, yeah, again, Al has given us already the context of our rights to, on, and in the internet. But what I will be discussing with you is the gender aspect of it. Why do we have to discuss gender matters when we talk about issues, when we talk about our rights in the digital environment? So that would be my objective. And for that, I will be focusing my discussion um, on the digital gender divide that exists. Okay. But first, let me start with, of course, I would like to start on a positive note for all of us women when we talk about um, the issue of the internet. There are already, sorry, what has happened to my, sorry, my slide has,
I think you need to share again.
yeah, I'm sharing it again.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah, it's there. Okay, there are many women actually who have helped change technology as we know it, and a lot of them are women who have contributed a lot when talk about the development of the internet as we know it. Of course, there's Ada Lovelace who proposed the mechanical general purpose computer, the analytical engine, which served as the precursor to the modern computer as we know it. Grace Hopper, who worked on the first commercial computer in the United States. Radia Perlman, whose work is about the algorithm behind the spanning tree protocol, which is crucial when it comes to the foundation of the internet. Hedy Lamar, an actress who might be familiar with some of you, um, who worked with George Antheil and developed a radio guidance, some sort of frequency for the jamming during World War II. And if you saw, of course, the film Hidden Figures, you would have become acquainted with the African American mathematicians who worked at NASA. So, and a lot more women actually contributed to the development of the computer as we know it today, even the codes that were developed because earlier computer coders were actually women. Sorry. Let me go to, okay. I don't know what's happening. Sorry, my computer keeps on going to this slide anyway. So if you look at the computer, actually, the vision when the web was invented, I'm not talking about the internet, but when the web was invented in 1989, the vision for the web was to be an open space where everybody, all people can create and share knowledge to harness the talents of people and to enable collaboration. That is why when Tim Berners-Lee of the World Wide Web Foundation now um, developed the codes, he made it available royalty free, and people were able to develop eventually based on the codes that he shared with the world. And as the contract for the web uh, says, uh, it reiterates actually this vision that the web should bring people together, make knowledge freely available, and change the world for good. In fact, it has, of course, changed the world for good and improved the lives of billions. And then, yet, when we look at the internet, many people are still unable to access its benefits. And the web comes with too many unacceptable costs, according to the contract for the internet. And look at the if we look at the internet penetration by region, I borrowed this slide from Hootsuite. We can see that in the region, there is actually there's still billions of people who are unconnected. Um, and it is the if you look at Africa, the regions of in Africa and also South Asia, that is where a lot of people are not connected, and a lot of them are women. Now, there is stark gender disparity when it comes to economic and political realms in the offline world. For instance, on the average, women would be getting 20%, earning 20% less than that of men globally. And for instance, in the Philippines, when we talk about women comprise half of the country's total population, but according to the Philippine Commission on Women, women only hold about a fifth of government elected positions. And even in digital development, many women and girls are still being left behind. I think Al mentioned this in his presentation earlier, that men are actually 21% more likely to be online than women. And for least developed countries, this rises to 52%. And data from the International Telecommunications Union actually suggests that it has increased between 55%, but by 55%, I mean, between 2013 and 2019. We also know that many are accessing the web through mobile phones. In fact, if you look at the figures in the Philippines, there are uh, um, more people using mobile phones than laptops or desktop computers. But global figures from the GSMA, or the Global System for Mobile Communications Association, show that there is actually a gender gap in the use of mobile phones. There are 300 million fewer women than men who access the mobile internet, and women are 8% less likely than men to own mobile phones. And this is a figure that I would like to share with you to show that in the different regions, actually, you can see here the number of men and at least the percentages of by population of men and women who use the internet. And really, in least developed countries, you would see that there are less people using the internet and less women, actually, less female using um, the internet. And when we talk about, and this is what we call, this gender gap is what is also called the gender digital divide. So this is the gap between the number of men and women who use the internet. And this actually reflects the inequalities between men and women in how they access the internet and in how they use the internet as well. But some people would say, no, it's not true. You know, in some countries like the Philippines, there is actually uh, more women use the internet than men. Actually, there was a study by the social weather stations. I think that was in 2018, and even FMA did a study in 2015 that showed that a lot of women, there's almost parity in the number of men and women using the internet in the Philippines. And this uh, slide, again from Hootsuite, shows also the social media usage of Filipinos. And you will see here that more women, a little more, than men, use the social media than men. And it is really young people here who are the users of social media. But but given this figure, we cannot generalize. We cannot say that women are equal than men when using the internet, even if there are more women um, using the internet. Women don't actually enjoy the same opportunities than men when it comes to using the internet, even if they are more in number. And across the world, that is so because there are barriers actually to women benefiting from the internet. And these are as follows. Number one would be the time. There have been researches done on this. Yeah, even in the Philippines, women would say, I don't use the internet because I do not have the time. We know that women are busy doing household chores, taking care of their children, cooking, and sometimes even helping out, earn an income for the family. So that is one barrier. That's why not a lot of women are able to use the internet and benefit from it. And of course, the availability of access, even if there's broadband access, maybe it's not that strong. If there are public centers or spaces where women can access the internet, sometimes it is very far and they cannot go to that place. The infrastructure also plays a role here. Uh, the service might be poor if it's not available, or if the quality of service is not good, then people are not enticed to use the internet. So, and then of course, the issue of affordability. Uh, do they have enough money to pay for the data? Because data in the Philippines is not cheap. We're in Southeast Asia. I think we're one of the more expensive when it comes to the cost of internet connectivity. And the device as well. I'll show you that graph on how many hours or how many days you have to work before people can buy a device. And it is also a function. If you don't have a device, then how can you connect? The next one is about relevant content. So here, language plays a big issue here. If you don't understand the language, then you're not enticed to read the content that is available. So government here can help by, providing the vital services that are available and online, and also making these services available in a language that is understood by all, especially by women. And then is there content that speaks to what women want? Are there information available on sexual and reproductive health, on their legal rights, on digital finance, etc.? So those are um, uh, things of interest to women. And if they are not available, especially on government websites, then you don't uh, uh, you don't go to that website. Culture and norms also are barriers to women's use of the internet. In some societies, even here in some families in the Philippines, boys are prioritized when it comes to technology. And the issue of online gender-based violence um, uh, is a barrier here. It's part of culture and norms. If you think that if you are being abused online, or you fear that you might be abused online, then you shun away from using the internet. If you're not um, being allowed to go out, if you don't have internet at home and you're not being allowed to go out by your family uh, to a place where there is connectivity, then you also are not able to um, gain from the benefits that are there. Then the other barrier is lack of skills, capacity and skills. Uh, some women have said, I don't know how to use that device. That's why I will not use it. That's why they are not able to connect to their families and friends. And then women's participation is important here, um, especially in decision making. Um, not a lot of, it's not just in the Philippines, but globally, there are more men actually who are in the areas of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, or STEM. And that's why when you look at um, the um, the policies, the devices that are available, the services, the platforms, they are not sometimes designed with women's needs in mind. because mostly it is the men um, who are designed, since they are the ones who are in technology, they design uh, what should be there. So yeah, and then there are also forums that look into policies that would benefit women as well. But sometimes women are not invited when crafting policies. And this says a lot about the policies that come out. If the voices of some sectors of society are not heard, then it is skewed towards other voices. And then there's the issue of safety and security, especially women, especially if you have experienced being threatened online, if you have experienced some abuse or harassment online, then you shun away from using uh, a certain platform. So that is important. So these are some of the barriers that studies have shown that make women that's why there is inequality when it comes to the use of men and women of the internet. And I would just like to highlight this issue about online gender-based violence, because we talked about safety and security as a barrier. Now, for quite some time now, the Foundation for Media Alternatives has been mapping cases of online gender-based violence in the Philippines. So we've been following actually um, media reports on such cases. And during the pandemic, we have um, seen an increase, actually 30% increase from last year in the number of cases that were reported, online violence cases that were reported. So if you look here, it is also young women, those below 30 years old, who are usually victims of online gender-based violence. And if you look at if we go back to the slide on the use of social media by Filipinos, you see there that it's also this segment of uh, the population, this age range, where there are more users of social media. And they are also the ones who are being targeted, who are also being attacked online. So these are cases like uh, using your photo or a video of yours and posting it online without your consent. These are cases of doxing, using your identity. Um, these are cases of extortion, or like sex videos being used. If you have, let's say, a nude photo or video, and then you and let's say you break up with your partner, and your partner didn't like it, and you have a video or a nude photo or a sex video with him, then it's possible for him to share that or to extort money, so he won't share it online. So those are things that are being reported, and those are the things that we have actually recorded in the map that we have. Um, so And not to mention that there are actually threats, uh, hate speech that are happening. And when it comes to women, it is actually they are being attacked because they are women. It is because of their bodies. For instance, some journalists would be attacked, like women journalists. People would tell them, "Oy, pangit, kahit pangit ka, sana ma-rape ka." And does not happen when you talk about male journalists. So when women are actually facing this harassment, this online, they experience harm. And what we have, and when we looked at it, the types of harm that women are actually facing include emotional harm, which is very high, psychological harm. There's also financial harm, because when there's something that is negatively posted about you, then sometimes you lose your job, or you're not accepted in a job, because there is like um, there was it refers also to reputational wise. So there's reputational harm as well. And sometimes, because of these videos, even physical harm happens. What is online is transformed offline. Okay, so when we talk about all this, the barriers that we talk about when we talk about the harm, the gender, what this does this actually mean? Um, we know that the internet we have today is not really working equally well for men and women. Um, from the gaps in the quality of connectivity that we talked about earlier, the digital skills, the threats, and the um, disproportional, disproportionately disproportional impact on the safety and rights of women and girls. And this all prevent women from fully benefiting from the opportunities that digital technology offers. And the gap, the online gap that we saw earlier, this means that women are less likely to participate uh, online, both as consumers and as producers of content. And when women are not able to participate equally online, then they are denied their talents, the skills, their perspectives, and knowledge. And research has actually shown that when women actually gain access, and not just access, but meaningful internet access, and if they are able to participate in evolving knowledge society, then it is not just the women who actually benefit. Their families, their villages, their barangays, their communities, and their country also gain from the empowerment that they have. That's why promoting internet access for women is more than just actually an issue of gender equality. It is also a part of the economic, social, and political development of countries in which women live. And then the United Nations have actually recognized that access to the internet um, is critical to individual and global development. And actually, there is a SDG 5 talks about achievement of gender equality and empowerment of women and girls. And this includes a target to enhance the use of enabling technology, in particular ICTs like the internet, because they have realized the potential, of course, again, of the internet to advance women's equality and empowerment, not just for this SDG 5, but in other uh, goals as well. In many of the 17 goals that were identified. Okay, so what can how do we respond to the barriers that were earlier discussed, and how do we close the gender digital divide? Now, the World Wide Web Foundation's Women's Rights Online Network, of which FMA is a part of, has actually identified policy steps that countries can take to close the divide, the digital gender divide, and this is through the REACT framework. And this, which urges policymakers to immediately take action on issues that focus on rights, education, access, content, and targets. Um, I think I don't know if I still have enough time, but yeah, so I'll go fast here already. So when we talk about rights, this means protecting and enhancing everybody's rights online, ensuring that the web is a safe space for women and that fundamental rights and freedoms are protected, such as freedom of speech, privacy, etc. When we talk about education, studies have shown that education is a powerful tool to close the gap. Um, when we talk about access, we've talked about it earlier in the barriers. Of course, affordability is an aspect here. It's a major obstacle to access, and we have to work on that. We talk about content. We should ensure that there's relevant and empowering content for women that is available and that which they can use. And policymakers, government should set targets that are measurable, those that would meet the needs and demands of women. This would include having targets in our national broadband plan, for instance? Did they even mention uh, gender there? So I don't think they did. So anyway, there are other initiatives that are being done to so that gender equality can be achieved in digital space. And this is important because we all have a stake. So if you look at the contract for the web, I don't know if some of you have or your organizations have signed this. Um, this encourages governments, companies, and citizens to work together to design and encourage approaches and interventions that prioritize inclusion of everybody, especially women, so that everybody can realize their potential and be part of um, the discussion that is going on um, in the digital space. Policy is very important, having gender perspectives when you talk about gender perspectives in technology policy are crucial because they acknowledge that men and women are socialized differently. And as a result, we should understand this policy's impact on men and women differently as well. Women are not homogeneous group, therefore policy should consider their experiences because they come from different social economic backgrounds, ethnicity, age, etc. Yeah. Among civil society organizations as well, there are campaigns, platforms, movements, hashtags that raise women's rights aware issues and concerns. For instance, the Take Back the Tech campaign, which FMA heads here in the Philippines, is being done every year to reclaim women's rights in the internet to end gender-based violence. At the local level, of course, we have other initiatives, the Mantay Bastos initiatives, Babae Ako initiatives, and they also raised women's concerns, especially on issues of safety and violence against women. Yeah, let me end with saying that by saying that yeah, with COVID-19, having access to the internet, of course, has been more crucial than ever. And to be offline means that we are missing a lot, um, especially on learning, earning, accessing valuable services, participating in democratic public spaces, public debates, and the digital divide between people who have internet access and those who do not uh, who do not could be deepening under existing gender inequalities, and this may further push women further to the margins of society. So we need to we know the potential of the internet to advance women's equality. So we have to tackle these barriers that were discussed earlier, as well as the gender gap, in order to improve our societies, our economies. And I will end with that. Thank you.